Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll review the Yonex Ezone 98 Tour and compare it to the 98 305 2020. If you do enjoy these videos, please consider clicking the like button as it helps my channel grow. And if you're new, subscribe to my channel and follow my Instagram page. If I can get enough support, I'll do a video and a spec analysis on Andy Murray's personal PT57A as well as a playtest. Make sure you stick to the end for a comprehensive rating breakdown based off on Tennis Warehouse rating system, so that you can use my rating system interchangeably with theirs. Anyway, let's dive into the specs. The Ezone Tour is a heavier version of the Ezone 98 and comes in at 315 grams unstrung, 33mm balance, which is around 4 points headlight, with a 16-19 string pattern. The average swing weight has not been measured and released yet, but I would expect the swing weight to fluctuate between 328 to 332, as that's what it felt like compared to my other rackets. Yonex claims that the Ezone Tour is made up of a softer layup, and whether that's true or not, or if it's just added weight to the frame, is debatable, as they're both currently listed at 64 RA. So how does this exactly translate into how it plays? Well, I think they are rackets in two completely different leagues. The one mistake I made was that I didn't weigh up the 305 gram version, so I can't comment on whether the Tour was just the same racket with a higher swing weight. But if you're someone who doesn't enjoy customization and simply wants to grab a racket off the shelves and for it to play good immediately, then I think you will love the Ezone Tour. Taking the two rackets for face value in stock form, I think Yonex has achieved what they set out to with a frame that's geared towards high intermediate to advanced players. The 305 gram version had some insane raw power, but it was near impossible to control for long rallies and not for a sustainable period of time. Whilst making contact with the center of the racket, you would get a nice plush response. Anything on the outer hoop would send some slight shock through my wrist, and at stock weight it was not that great in terms of stability in my opinion, and I ended up selling that racket pretty fast. So here's my breakdown of the Ezone Tour. For the feel and stiffness, where the 305 felt only good within the center, the Tour maintains a similar plushness but throughout the entire string bed, creating a much more dampened feel. The only con I would say that it is a more muted feel, but not as much as the Blade version 7, and something along the lines of the Pure Strike Gen 3. Personally, I'm not bothered by it, but there are people that will not like it very much. I always play with a dampener, but the Ezone Tour is probably one of the rackets I would say that is more enjoyable to play with that one. Overall, I think the comfort has improved quite a lot, but if you have wrist or elbow issues, you should aim for lower tensions, hybrid setups, or softer polys to be on the safer side. I have wrist issues, but the Pure Strike Gen 3 is totally a comfortable racket for me with the right string and tension. And the same goes for the Ezone Tour. And actually I had a lot more issues with the 305 instead. The power is maintained if you swing these 330 plus swing weight rackets at full speed. If you can't handle the weight, you will find a lower powered response in comparison to the 305, but if you insist on using it, I would recommend lowering the tension on what you usually play. However, the upside is that with the added swing weight, there is a ton of increased plow through. Surprisingly, topspin potential for me felt very mediocre if I used a firmer string like Headlink's Tour. It was a little bit better with Poly Tour Pro, but it wasn't that kind of heavy paced spin, so I would recommend using a spin friendly poly to make up for it. The launch angle is about what you'd expect from general open patterns, and as for slice, it was easy to get depth, but it was nothing too special. This brings us to the biggest difference between the 305 and the Tour. I was far more in control, and I was able to hone in that power, and shots were so much more predictable and the kind that you would expect from an actual Ezone 98. Unlike the 305, where it was entirely difficult to keep any longer rallies, and I would continually overhit way more than any other racket I've ever used on power shots. Honestly, both rackets are great for serving, but the Tour had much more plow through from the swing weight. In my opinion, it makes one of the best serving rackets above 95 square inches, next to the Prestige MP and the Blade V7. It did not take me long at all to start dialing in my serve, hitting my spots, and hitting with heavy pace, something that I struggled with the Extreme Tour. The second biggest difference was the stability. It was so stable throughout all the contact points in the frame, and had a much larger sweet spot, making a very forgiving racket. Off-center shots were just as plush as the center, and I never felt any of that firmness that I did on the outer hoop like I did with the 305. This made it a joy to volley with because I thought the added swing weight vastly improved the feel and stability. It didn't really ever shake in my hand and handled heavier shots really well, and the improved response also provides you with the touch and finesse that you need. For me, maneuverability is where it lacked a lot. Already being over 335 grams and almost up to 340 grams with an overgrip and dampener, 4 points headlight was not something comfortable for me. And as I mentioned in my last video, I don't like to bring up the tail weight to improve the balance because extra static weight tends to slow me down too much. I'm usually accustomed to 20mm beams, so to me this is considered a thick beam, and you need a good deal of strength and a fully capable swing to really get the best out of this frame. Surprisingly, serves and volleys were fine for me, but my one-handed backhand struggles, and with over 1.5 hours in a single play session, I became quite sluggish. It's nothing that you couldn't fix by using the racket full time for a month, but for me that was probably the hardest thing about the racket. In summary, this racket is essentially what the original 305 was hyped up to be. Something that could potentially replace any old DR98 fans that found it too hard or too expensive to get their hands on new ones. I think the Ezone Tour generally lives up to the hype for how it was promoted, but be warned, this racket is not for the faint of heart. If you want this to work for you, make sure that 330 swing weights are not foreign to you. This is definitely a player's frame and should not be purchased without that consideration. If strung at a low tension with a spin-friendly poly, I think you can get a racket that plays reminiscent of a combination between the DR98 and the DR98 Plus. A mid-powered frame with an amazingly plush feel, excellent stability, and an absolute beast to serve with. While some may argue it's nowhere near as good, I think this is one to look at given the way the last two 305 releases have gone. That wraps up my review on the Ezone 98 Tour. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please stick around to the end for a comprehensive rating on the racket. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.